You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, let's talk politics. Joe Biden's jobs and economic recovery plan is that we must build our economy back better than it was before the COVID-19 crisis. He gave his speech on yesterday, saying that we have two overlapping crises. The pandemic shines a light on racial disparities in health and healthcare, and the economic crisis has hit black and brown communities especially hard, with black unemployment being at 15.4%, Latino at 14.5%, and businesses owned by black, Latino, and Asian Americans closing down at alarming rates. Joining me right now is someone from his home state, Delaware State Senator Darius Brown. Senator Brown, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. What really jumps out when we talk about this plan, what black folks want to know is specifically, how will a Joe Biden presidency benefit black people? Not Latinos, not Asians, not white women, everyone else, but specifically African Americans.
Well, thank you, Roland, for having me. And, this election and campaign is personal to me because Joe is family. The Bidens are family to me, and for all of those that are in the state of Delaware, particularly African Americans, that in the state of Delaware, African Americans make up nearly 40% of the state population, including all other minorities. And then so we look at the Build Back Better plan as a way to ensure that our country, particularly African American communities, have the investment that they need, because we know and recognize that by the year 2050, our nation will become a majority minority country. And also by that same year, 2050, it is projected that the average net wealth of African American households will be $0. And so when we look at this campaign and the choice between the two candidates that are running for president, Joe Biden is the only one that has articulated a plan to invest in African American communities. He's not someone that's new to the relationship with African Americans. I, as a state senator in the state of Delaware, the third and youngest African American to serve in the Delaware State Senate, served on his U.S. Senate staff and have worked with him and have a relationship with him over the years. His late son, Bo, and daughter, Ashley, were with me when I was sworn in to city council when I first got elected to public office, and they've been with me ever since. And so what he is doing as running for president and his investments is ensuring that we have the investments in our neighborhoods, home ownership, creating wealth. We recognize that home ownership is the very fundamental and foundational way to create wealth in the black community. It's investing in small business and small and mid-sized firms. Roland, you know personally, there's lots of African Americans in the state of Delaware. Many of them are your friends. And so we want to ensure that African Americans around the country understand Joe Biden's relationship to African Americans in the state and African Americans around the country and his commitment to invest in our community.
Well, the reality is this here. When Vice President Joe Biden was there with President Barack Obama, black and other firms outperformed white firms when it came to the management of TARP funds, but they did not get an increase in that. And so the thing here is the power of the president is real. When we talk about, federal government deposits a whole lot of money in various banks. The question is, will dollars be shifted to black banks? That's one of the things that took place under President Bill Clinton. When we look at the Pentagon spends $600 million a year annually on advertising. How much of that is going to black media? Those are the sort of tangible questions. And not only that, you look at the federal pension fund, nearly $1 trillion. BlackRock pretty much controls all of that. Black people are managing a minuscule amount. And so really what black folks want to know is, are to break down these systems, is Joe Biden going to say, we're going to make sure that we're not going to continue to keep having white hedge funds and investment funds controlling those dollars, and we're going to make sure, using our power, to say you're going to start advertising in significant ways with black media, because what does that then do? It causes black media to actually build capacity, allows us to be able to do more, be able to hire more people. The same thing for other businesses.
Yeah, Roland, the African-American community knows very well that between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, Joe Biden is the only person committed to investing in our community and has a record in leading reinvestment after the economic downturn. And so Also, with that, we already know Joe Biden's commitment through his Build Back Better plan is that what he's going to do for America and for African Americans is ensure that we generate wealth through home ownership, through small business loans. He's going to work within the federal government system to make sure that the Consumer Federal Bureau is ensuring that our credit scores and our credit rate is being assessed differently than it has been historically in the past. He's also committed to ensuring that he's going to look at student loans and addressing student loan debt and moving that student loan debt from us, which for many of us as African Americans, we recognize and understand is a barrier for upward mobility and financial freedom. So those are commitments that Joe Biden has made that Donald Trump has not articulated. He continues to be divisive. He continues, as Mayor Lance Bottom talked about, continues to push and press upon the pain of our country instead of the promise of our country. And Joe Biden has been committed in saying that he wants to restore the soul of our nation. And that also helps us as African Americans.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Let's go to our panel here. Brittany, I want to start with you. This is what it boils down to. How will Biden use the power of the presidency to be able to affect the economics of black folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the community, we're certainly going to be voting for Joe Biden. Historically speaking, black folks, specifically black women, have always supported Joe Biden. And let me say this before I get into my real comments. I lived in Delaware. I was Miss Delaware. Beau Biden was one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, rest his soul. Jill Biden as well. They're good, nice people. But we are going to have to, once we get him in office, and we are going to have to really push him because Joe Biden is a moderate. He is a moderate Democrat. So we are really going to have to push him in terms of his police reform ideology, in terms of, I heard a lot of banter about, we have to get wealth back into the black community. So, yeah, I mean, it does come through housing. It does come through private property. It does come through the economy. And we know he's more legitimate than Trump in terms of reversing the virus, in terms of, building back the economy. But we're going to have to continue to push him and ensure that he is putting things that are set in stone federally to help the black community, because historically speaking, he is a moderate.
Scott, it's very interesting. I was looking at some of the comments here on YouTube. I was looking at some of the comments on Facebook. And when I did the State of Black America event in Indianapolis with Stewart Speakers Bureau, I said this to the audience. I said, if you ask black people what are the top 5 issues, money is not going to be in the top 5. What often happens is we as African Americans, we talk about criminal justice reform, mass incarceration. We'll talk about racism. We'll talk about health. We'll talk about education. We'll talk about environmental justice. But let's just be clear. Money is tied to every single one of those things. I think we do ourselves a disservice by not honing in on money. But what I mean by that is where the money is and how the money is being distributed. Like I said, when I sat at the Treasury Department under Obama in 2010, and they said that black and other minority firms were outperforming the white firms on the management of TARP funds, my immediate reaction was, does that mean they're going to get more? Because where I come from, if I'm doing better than them, I should be able to get more. And I think, to me, this is where we have to be, in that we also have to understand where the money is. And so, again, when Bill Clinton was president, Congressman Maxine Waters was the one who said, hey, Pentagon, they spending $600 million annually on advertising. How much going to black media? So people are sitting here at home, when we keep thinking, when we talk about money, not realizing money is being spent on so many, you in law, they spending money on outside law, legal folks. They're spending money elsewhere. How many black law firms? How many law firms that have black partners? See, that's the kind of stuff where we have to be demanding and saying, all right, Joe, show me where the money. And guess what? He can do a lot of this, and he don't need the approval of Congress to do it.
No, he can certainly do it, but the reality is that we've got to make him do it. You know, my biggest argument with Obama, or rather my brothers and sisters under Obama, was we never left the inauguration. Whatever the president does, he does it because you make him do it, not because he just happens to agree with you. And we got to stay vigilant with Joe Biden. Now, black people are socialized to want a good job. In D.C., a good government job. The monies that you're talking about are about entrepreneurship training, employing people, and gaining wealth, and being part of the working rich as an entrepreneur or business owner, right? And so there are only a fraction of us who implement that as an action, as opposed to, I'd love to have my own business. But doing business with the government, doing business with the private sector, demanding our fair share, and making Biden put programs in place that make access to capital, access to leadership, infrastructure as an entrepreneur for small black businesses that can get to be big black businesses or big businesses generally, is where the president can help by executive order, by putting money into these agencies and focusing and targeting on poor people, poor areas, black people, black and brown areas, and giving them access to capital and entrepreneurship training to ensure their success. That's just a start. But if he does that and we make him do that, we're going to be going a long way in regard to creating capital and wealth in our communities, because that is the key and that is the answer.
And Robert, at the end of the day, if people actually study the Black Freedom Movement, and if they look at the history of Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition,
it was an economic component.
They understood money. The number of black millionaires who were created. When Operation Breadbasket, when they actually cut those MOUs, it wasn't just they wanted jobs. They wanted jobs for black folks. They wanted managerial and senior level jobs. They wanted black products on the shelves. They wanted them to use black businesses for other areas of that particular company. They wanted them to deposit money in black banks. It was multifaceted. But Robert, we have to have organized infrastructure, to Sky Points, to make that possible, which is what I laid out when Diddy made his big announcement. I said, man, look, you can't just make an announcement. You got to have the infrastructure to say, this is how we're going to actually make it happen. Right. And that might mean letting Biden know if he wins, we'll drop 1,000 people in front of the White House and chain ourselves to the fence to get your attention on these issues. And yes, black people did not do that with Obama because we were so elated with the first black president, we forgot he was the 44th. Robert.
Exactly.
Well, you know, just as Reverend Jackson said, for 50 years, it's jobs, justice, and equal opportunity and the American dream. And that's what we have to be fighting for at this point, because we've done all of the symbolism. You know, I drove to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration the first time. You know, we all were excited in '08, but now it's 2020, and we need to have some tangible benefits put on the wall. I remember 1959, going to the 1960 election, JFK said, I can solve all of your problems with the stroke of my fountain pen. We need to be demanding that of this upcoming administration, because what we've seen from Trump is an imperial presidency, a presidency which dares the Congress and dares the court to overturn what they have done, who would rather ask for forgiveness than beg for permission on many of these issues. So I want to see that same militancy, that same imperialism in the White House. I want to see that on the behalf of Black America. How much money is the Pentagon spending on research and development at places like Boston College or Harvard or Caltech? And how much of that can be done at FAMU or Clark Atlanta or Alabama A&M? What we have to realize is the money is there, and it does not have, we can't just sit here and say, well, Mitch McConnell won't let me do it. Well, John Boehner and Eric Cantor, there's always going to be an excuse not to do it. Do all the things that you can with a stroke of a pen, and once that money is appropriated, we have to demand that it goes to our communities, because if we get okey-doked again, as the prophet George W. Bush said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, you ain't gonna fool me again.
Well, but remember, but remember, Democrats only have to take four seats to control the Senate. If Democrats, the polls are showing right now that Mark Kelly is up big in Arizona. You've got Hickenlooper up big in Colorado. You've got Susan Collins down 5 points in Maine. That means if Democrats pick up Tillis' seat in North Carolina, very doable, pick up one or two of those seats in Georgia, or pick up the seat in Montana, this is assuming Doug Jones loses, he is running in Alabama, they now control the Senate. But here's the piece. That's great. But here's what's going to happen. If they get a slim majority in the Senate, what's going to happen is that gives more power to conservative senators like Joe Manchin to hold stuff up like we saw even when Obama was president. Everybody forgets the first 2 years Obama was president. Yes, Democrats controlled the Senate, but you had folks like Joe Lieberman who held things up. And so you didn't necessarily have, actual control because they play games with that. But again, this is where black people have to be willing to make those demands. I'm just going to give y'all a real quick story. We were just telling y'all about Lisa Jackson, who was the highest ranking African-American at Apple. Let me tell y'all what this actually happened. When they had the BP oil spill down in Louisiana, Obama, when they went down there, they had a meeting, and so that was a woman who was a former head of the EPA. Why is her name escaping me? I think it's Wheeler. It's escaping me right now. She was a former head of the EPA, and she was Obama's environmental czar. So they said, I think Carol Wheeler, I think is what it is. So they were like, she's the only person who's going to be speaking. And I'm going, hold up. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency is a black woman, Lisa Jackson, who's from New Orleans. And so they said to all the media, well, they only sending out Wheeler to all of the shows. And I went, so just so y'all know, this is exactly what I told the Obama White House. Look at here. It's only going to be one person talking on my show, Washington Watch, this weekend about this damn oil spill in Louisiana. And that's going to be Lisa Jackson. So y'all figure out whatever y'all want to figure out. But all I know is I ain't accepting nobody except Lisa Jackson. Now, come Friday when we tape that show, Lisa Jackson walked into that studio, did the interview. Point I'm making is I was unwilling to accept whoever the Obama administration sent to me, and I'm just going to give y'all one more, okay? We covered the My Brother's Keeper deal. I got one interview with Obama in all his 8 years. I got one interview, it was 2010. They kept, and they wanted us to cover this and cover this and cover this, and I was like, okay. So it finally got to the point where I said, no, that's all right. So they would call me, and they would be like, hey, could you have Broderick with My Brother's Keeper? No. I said, I ain't covering nothing else until Obama consent to an interview. And they called me, they're like, but I said, can we do a special? No. Could we have? No. Matter of fact, they had a panel at Congressional Black Caucus ALC. I pulled my cameras out. They were like, well, I said, no. If I'm not going to keep covering stuff if he not going to sit down with us. So at some point, you've got to be willing to walk away from the table as opposed to accept nothing. And all I'm saying to black, here's the deal. I want Trump out. Hashtag fire Trump in November. But let me be real clear right now. And I told y'all this in 2016 after he won. And I told y'all this after the midterms in 2018. And I said this to Tom Perez, who heads the DNC. I said this to the DCCC, to the DSCC, to the Democratic Governors Association, to Emily's List, and all these other groups out there. These folk gonna spend more than $1 billion on this election. Let me let y'all know right now, and I told y'all, black folks are not going to be political sharecroppers. We're not going to till the soil and work the land and then other folk who don't look like us benefit. So while the Biden campaign right now and the Democrats are gearing up, we damn sure better see substantial investments in black media when it comes to advertising. We better see substantial investment when it comes to black operatives, money on the ground, black folks who have audio-visual companies, black folks who have paper, black folks who have catering. That's what it is about. And I'm telling you, I want to see Trump absolutely gone, which means Biden needs to take him out. But the day after the election and the day after the inauguration, I and others will be standing there saying, now it's time for there to be a return on our investment. Now, y'all, I don't make idle threats. I've texted this to Tom Perez. I've told the Biden people, don't come at me with small money. Don't come at black media with small money. Don't say we got y'all in the bag and we gonna go spend our money out there on some white women in the suburbs. No, you need to make sure that there's not a 2.4% drop of black voters like it was in 2016. That means having black surrogates on here. That means having the conversations. But I'm telling y'all right now, I want y'all to hear me loud and clear, Democrats. Don't you have your white media buyers playing metric games with black media? The budget had better be substantial. And if it's not, I will call you out every single day. How you spend with black people in the election is how you will spend with black people in the White House. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.